Yaya Toure is in the house. Yaya, welcome. Very pleased to see you. Daniel, how much is this pair
This
worth,
is,
do you think, in the transfer market
we're
now?
talking at least 300 to 500 million right here. Come on, man, these two.
How does it divvy up?
These two are legends, come on.
Yaya, what did you think of that today?
I think the first half was okay. It was quite okay, good games, but I feel a bit disappointed in the end, you know, because we want to see flourish games, right? Fluid games, passing, attacking, scoring chances. But at the end of the day, we see 3 goals by set pieces. For a derby, a bit strange. Yeah.
But does it matter if you're Arsenal and you're just trying to win your first title for 22 years?
Yeah, I think so, to be honest. I don't know, but yeah, I think so. Because winning today was obviously really, really important for Arsenal. But as a fan, I should, you know, I want to see more, you know.
What do you think, Patrick?
I think, from the Arsenal point of view, what really matters is the 3 points. It is really important for them. And of course, when you look at the game a little bit more deeper, scoring 2 goals on the set pieces, and it wasn't really open games. You expected Arsenal to go a little bit more forward. Obviously, Chelsea has a massive and a big part of the game because they were quite well organized defensively. So it was quite difficult for Arsenal to create chances. But of course, when you are top of the Champions League table, you are top of the league table, you are in a final in a cup, and you're still in a FA Cup competition. So the expectation is higher, and you expect more from this Arsenal Football Club. And today, yes, on the side of the game, creating, going forward, taking risk, we were, and I am a little bit disappointed, but the matter is, for them, is to win, taking the 3 points, and I think they did it well today. And
disappointed with which bit? With the style of football particularly, or that risk bit?
It's not about the style, because I think the style can be as well the fact that they didn't win the title for so long. So there is maybe a little bit of frustration and stress, because you want to do so well that you are not taking the risk that you are taking in the start of the season. So looking at where they are, and a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of stress, a little bit of pressure can have an impact on their games. But I believe that there is enough experience, there is enough quality, there is enough personality for them to go on the field and to go to win the game. And I think today, set pieces make the difference.
They certainly seem to put their fans through it, Daniel, don't they? They don't do things easily.
Yeah, but I think the key is stopping them. You know, we can talk about the roller coaster in terms of performances and how they go about winning games. I think the entertainment value sometimes isn't there, but football's a game about winning, right? That's what you want to do. Yeah. So I think it's about how do you stop them being great at what they're great at. Clearly, set pieces is an area that they've worked on tirelessly. You got to have the players to be pinpoint deliverers of crosses. Then you need the aggressive players in the box. They've got all the tools for the players who want to have the first contact. All of them are aggressive in the box. And then when you talk about an open play, of course, they've got many ways to win games, but it seems as if set pieces is the one that works the best for them right now.
Yeah.
So use that to your advantage.
Yeah, I think they did well. Since the beginning of the season, they've always been doing well. I don't want to be too much rush, right? And I think Arsenal now, they just at it, right? This season, I think I hope they're gonna end up good, but as Man City fans, you know, I think we are there, we're still behind them again. I hope they will soar at some point, but let's see.
Because it's in Arsenal's hands, Yaya, but it's also in Manchester City's hands, because the fact that they play each other and they have this game advantage. We can actually show you the fixtures that both have left. How do you see this then, Yaya, in these closing stages?
Yeah, I think it's incredible how those two, titan of the leagues doing this year is incredible, especially Man City. Been struggled at some point in the beginning of the season, and now they're coming back very strongly.
They've won 4 on the bounce. Then it's Forest midweek. Then West Ham United before the Carabao Cup final. Do you think that could be a significant game? The fact they are playing each other in that final.
Yeah, I think it can be a turning point, right? Because for me, I'm opinion if Man City win that game, it will be big. Can be something, psychologically for Arsenal very strong, right? But I hope Man City is going to win the game because that one is going to be significantly for the rest of the season.
Can I ask you both? When you talk about your experiences that you've both been very successful legends of the game, like I talked about earlier on. From your experiences, Patrick, for you in 2004, your experience of maybe not winning the league for a few years and then going over the line from that psychological perspective, and for you, Yaya, similar, but in the sense of when Manchester City were always coming back to win the titles, what was that like psychologically?
Well, I think, of course, sometimes depends on the character of the player. For example, the first time when we win the league with Man City 2012, or before that, when we win the FA Cup, I think psychologically sometimes it's difficult when you have an opponent behind you who pressure you a lot. For example, when you take an example now with Arsenal and Man City just fighting all the way, and the second one is, it's not that easy. And when you see as well your opponent like a Man City, you can leave them space, because if you, for example, make a mistake or you lose or you draw, they're going to come right at you. And you have to be strong mentally, of course, but have that sense of, like Patrick was saying, for them it's important to win those kind of games because, you have to understand that as Chelsea, that was always a big role of Arsenal and the London derby. And I think Arsenal have to keep it going, doing that because otherwise, it's gonna cost them something because Man City, for me, they're really gonna be Man City, right? They're always gonna try to finish strongly in the end. But let's see. I hope Man City will win, but
you're not sure. Do you remember, Patrick, the first one being different? In terms of that pressure and that psychological aspect that Daniel's referring to, that challenge of getting over the line for the first time.
And of course, there's a pressure. The pressure as a team, you want to do well, but there's a outside noise as well that you have to manage, you have to control. And I think when you're looking at Pep talking about Arsenal and saying that Arsenal is the best team at the moment, that is as well putting a pressure on the shoulder of Arsenal Football Club. And that is part of the game as well. But it will be really important, and especially when you get to the end of the season like that, there's a key games that you have to win. And it doesn't matter if you play well or bad. And I think today's games was one of them. But the key moment, I think, will be the game between Manchester City and Arsenal. I think that will be the decided game because when you're looking at after that game, you expect both teams to win all the games of the season. So for me, the key moment and the important moment will be that game.
Who's playing the best football, Yaya, of the two?
Man City is coming back well. Arsenal were doing well. After that, the struggle, I think they drew against. I watched some games, especially on Emirates as well.
Drew a couple recently.
Yeah, Brentford,
Wolves.
yes, Wolves as well. That one cost them a bit and give them a bit of doubt, to be honest. Because when I see the players, express themselves, and as well, you have to understand that Odegaard, the captain, is brilliant, right?
You don't know when he's going to be back.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a huge miss because between the line is moving very well. He can, you know what I mean?
You can see he's a Barcelona.
No, because I love that type of game, that type of approach. When you play games, we need to be, because I feel like the player sometimes I be locked in the brain, right? Just I don't want to make mistakes. Maybe if I lose the ball, can cost the team something. I want the player to be more open. Of course, it's the game, We enjoy the fans, part of it.
And the manager will tell you the best game is to get a result. So it's always a balance, I believe, to find between result and the performance. But if you compared Arsenal and Manchester City, I think Manchester City going through a difficult period, but they're always going to keep the philosophy. I think the way that they're going to play, try to build up from the back, that is part of the DNA. And even if they're going through a difficult period, they are staying with kind of philosophy. Arsenal going through a difficult period, they are capable of adapting themselves at how they are feeling at the moment. If they are missing players, they may going to treat some of the tactical aspect of the game. I think that is kind of the differences between the two clubs.
To add on that, I think for me, Man City is playing the better games. For me, they're the best
In
team
terms of
because
style?
style, time of experience, in terms of approaching the games. Yesterday, the games they play against Leeds, it's not easy, very difficult. I watched the game carefully and I see that Leeds have that momentum, but Man City just with calmness, with control, with understanding, and they're really good, right? For me, I think that's gonna go into the end. For me, in my opinion, and for me, I remember Man City are playing better games.
You said they're playing better football. You said they hope they win. Are they going to win? Are they going to win the title, Man City?
Yes, I definitely want it.
Okay.
I definitely want it.
You've been playing. You say it like it is. Okay.
We better let you go quietly and don't repeat that outside this studio. Thank you so much for coming to see us.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to see you. Absolute giant of the game, Yaya Toure popping in. 16 corners they have scored goals from this season, Arsenal. Let's have a look at the first. I mean, it was almost like there was a phony game going on in the first 20 minutes before we got to the real game, which was the set piece and the Arsenal scoring from their very first.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we're talking about guys working tirelessly on the training field, aggression, anticipation in the box. And when you're looking at the marking here of Reece James, of course, we have to highlight the fact that his back's turned. He's got one job, which is literally to block Gabriel, but it is difficult when someone has momentum running towards you.
And Gabriel in particular seems to be just impossible to stop whoever you are.
It seems that way, but again, there's got to be things. You have to have preparation in order to stop what Arsenal are doing. This is clearly what they're going to do every single game. Gabriel's the main man who they're targeting in the box. You got to have a player who can deliver the ball, but his aggression is for me what stands out most. Patrick, would you say?
I think this is one of Arsenal's strengths. They are quite really good on that, and I think they spend quite a lot of time on the field to practice. But it's quite really interesting because they open the space to create for Gabriel. And of course, like you mentioned, the momentum running at Reece is quite really difficult for him to defend that situation. But after that, I think when he managed to go over Reece, you can see the determination and the competitiveness of the player. So he in the 1v1, he's coming running at Reece, he makes the difference. And from now, he's more determined to win the ball. And then you can see so many players of Arsenal inside the 6-yard box. And of course, Saliba reacted quite really well. And then it was really difficult for the goalkeeper to defend. But Arsenal are quite really strong in these situations.
But it's not just Arsenal that were effective with it today. And it did feel a bit like Chelsea had done a lot of work on this as well in the build-up to this game, didn't it?
Yeah, I think both teams didn't really create so many chances. And they both rely on set pieces. And here, you can see it's... In a small motion, you can see Rice fighting with the Chelsea player, but he doesn't look at the ball at all. And of course, so many players in front of the goalkeepers with the deflection from the own Arsenal players, they concede an own goal. But there is nothing in this situation that the keepers can do because there's so many bodies in front of him.
This is becoming a real trend, and we've seen it on every goal scored today, and probably the ones that didn't go in as well, with defenders trying to stop their runners, trying to do anything to block, to maul, to hold, to drag, whatever you can do to be effective. But actually, a lot of the time, not watching the ball. Is this the way that defending is going now?
But that is a problem for me because the ball's coming in the box. You have a job, which is to play the ball. It's not to play the man, right? And that's... For me, it's always been about that. It's if you're saying my job is literally to mark this player and not care about where the ball is, I think that's a foul. I'm not. And another place on the pitch, that's a foul. You can't have your back turned to the ball and it not be deemed. You're not even playing the ball. You could argue that if Rice is facing the other way, maybe he could defend the cross. But I think we see a lot of this now where it's because there's a lot of crowding going on and a lot of, grabbing and physical elements to it. It's less necessarily about playing the ball and more about there's just bodies everywhere and it's complete chaos. And how do you deal with the chaos? I think Arsenal are very good at creating chaos and executing off the back of it, but clearly defensively here they got it wrong.
As they did as well for the winning goal. And yet again, a theme for that was at the back post, Santos and Caicedo actually facing the wrong way entirely, trying to defend this.
I think this is a big issue, and I think we need to find the right answer for helping the referees to make a decision here. When you don't looking at the ball and you just stop the players running, I think that has to be a foul, and I think referees has to be brave enough to give a foul and to give a penalty, because when you don't look at the ball, it became really difficult.
And yet again, we're seeing, 12, 13 players jostling for the ball, jostling for a position, trying to either get some contact on the goalkeeper or not in that instance,
I mean,
to try and get an advantage.
With Santos here, you see, he's trying to get his head around, but the goalkeeper was complaining earlier on about being bumped, and he got bumped by his own teammate. Again, it's just complete chaos in the box.
But do you agree with Patrick's point that maybe there needs to be a tweak of the rules or the laws? I'm not sure that everyone is enjoying watching this kind of scrum on set pieces.
I think at this point it's becoming a little bit... I liken it to almost like the tush push in NFL, right? In NFL, there's a play called the tush push that the Philadelphia Eagles were great at, and they're the best at doing it. Complete different sport, I know. But their job is to say, OK, stop us. Help us. If we're going to keep doing this until we're stopped. They ended up, I think, tweaking the rules slightly. But in the end, it becomes like, Arsenal are great at doing this. This is what we're known for. Stop us. Like, at the end of the day, we can talk about the rules, but Arsenal are making it more, like, I suppose, amplified because they're so good at executing. So it's going to continue until there potentially is a tweak, because, if I'm good at doing something and you can't stop me doing it, I'm going to keep doing it.
And we should absolutely make the point that it's not just Arsenal. It was Chelsea as well today. It was Everton against Manchester United last Monday. There's been 138 corners already scored this season. That is already more than the last season's tally. And we've got 99 games to go. So it is very much a growing trend in our league. Now, 2-1, there were still chances for Chelsea to get back into this game. Do you give them credit, Patrick, for how they approach these final moments?
Yeah, I give them a credit, because I think scoring the goal just before half-time give them that kind of momentum. I think in the second half, they entered the field in a better situation. I think they were the better team in the beginning of the second half. They created those kind of situations, but Raya was really good. There's the deflection in the near post, and the reaction here to stop the ball was really good from him.
I think if he could turn back time, Joao Pedro will want to have that one back. I think he knows that was a great chance for him. That, like, for how well he's been playing, I think the chance played before was easier than this one.
He's centimetres, I suppose a few inches from that one, isn't he, Cole Palmer? But then this was the one where Garnacho, Gary said the point in commentary, there's a bit more zip on this, maybe it does find the bottom corner.
We've seen those floating, but again, the step from Raya, you see the right leg step, he's got that strength in his leg to be able to catapult himself across. We've seen those go in many times in the past, but it's a fantastic save from him.
And then this, we were all looking to see whether the official had his flag up, and indeed he did, to deny. He didn't at first, did he? He did there after the ball was in the back of the net, which was a very worrying moment for Arsenal fans. But that was correctly ruled out, and 2-1 it finished to Arsenal. Let's bring in Gary Neville, who, of course, was watching on high for us. Gary, what's your overriding feeling having watched Arsenal get through this today, but not in a straightforward manner against Chelsea?
I mean, I think from where they were, Dave, a week last Wednesday after the Wolves game, I know Mikel Arteta before the game said that it doesn't matter when the other team that you're challenging for the title plays first, but it really does. I mean, City having to sort of get their points on the board on a Saturday and then Arsenal have to follow them on a Sunday does add that pressure for Arsenal. And I think it's been a really good week for them in two games that are quite difficult. The North London derby, obviously Tottenham aren't playing well, but they still have to go there and do a job under pressure after the Wolves game. And then today was a real struggle for them. Not playing well in terms of open play and the fluidity, but getting over the line. And I think that's really important. With all the competitions that Arsenal are in, you're not going to play well every single week, but they had to win 3 points. They had to get over the line and win the game, and they've done that. And I think that counts for a lot.
Gary, the bigger picture, of course, is Arsenal winning their first Premier League title for 22 years. If they are to get there, what is it that they will be leaning on in these last 9 games, do you think?
their quality, their physical strength, the experience of the last 3 years of losing it. I mean, they surely have to sort of look upon what's happened in the last 3 years. They know this is going to be hard work. They've got 10 more weeks of paying these Arsenal fans, watching in the crowd, watching at home sometimes when they're away from home. This is not easy. This is not going to be pleasant at times. It's going to be anxious, but they've got to enjoy the thrill of it. That's why they're here. We always, every single time we come to Arsenal, and we've done this for a number of years, and Patrick obviously played in the last title-winning team, we go over to that 2004 year that's over there halfway up across that stand and say they haven't won the league for 22 years. And they've got to try and get rid of that. And in the last 3 years, they've been up against, obviously, City and Liverpool, and it's been obviously tough for them, and they've lost out in those battles. And call upon the experiences that they've had, dig deep, just dig in like you wouldn't believe. And they're doing that. Look, they're a resilient bunch. They've got a lot of fight about them. They're good physically. I think they're a mentally strong team. I don't think they're weak. I think that a few years ago they were quite vulnerable. They were a bit immature. That's not this group that we're watching out here. I think the complication for them, Dave, is they've got 4 trophies to try and go at. And you can't throw away a Champions League. You can't throw away a Carabao Cup final. You've got to go for every single trophy. So how Mikel Arteta rotates, how he uses his squad, how he stays clear of injury is going to be important.
But do you have a view on that in terms of what should be their priorities, if it does come to that?
I think they've got to, in some ways, take a massive risk, or a calculated risk, if you like, in the FA Cup. That's not to disrespect the FA Cup, but I think you've got to look at that competition and say, right, I've got to trust my second 11 all the way up to the semi-final. I think the Carabao Cup final, it's a one-off game. You've got to play your best team. The Champions League, you've got to go and play your best team. And obviously the Premier League, you've got to go and play your best team. But the FA Cups, they do give a little bit of respite for Mikel Arteta to take a risk, and that might be the competition that they do sort of falter in, maybe slightly. Obviously, they've got Mansfield, so they'll probably get across the line in that one. But as it goes through, that'll be the one that I think might fall by the wayside.
Gary, you've been there, you've been in this position, you'll remember it very well. Of course, you went on to win multiple titles, but this first one, is it different? Is this going to be a case this evening of in this dressing room, they're going to be concerned about a performance, or is it going to be just huge relief or delight that they've got these 3 points?
No, I think they'll have delight. I don't think they'll be sat there. I mean, look, you always want performance, but it's impossible. I know they've had a week's rest, but Arsenal play nearly every 3 days and have done for such a long time now. It is impossible to play every 3 or 4 days and play at a high level from a performance perspective. It just is impossible. So getting over the line and getting games out under your belt and wins under your belt when you're actually doing that is something that's quite important. They've got that in them to be able to do it. And look, I have to say that the first title that I won was in 95-96, and it was a challenging experience. Your legs start to get heavy towards the end. You start to read every headline. You can't escape it. The noise is constant. I'm very lucky, and we were very lucky as young lads. We had very experienced players who'd won 2 or 3 titles. The one worry, other than injuries and the sort of amount of games that they play, is that they're up against Pep Guardiola's machine, who have won titles, and they haven't got any experience in the dressing room. I mean, Gabriel Jesus has won it, but he doesn't look like the type that's going to be able to get the other players over the line on his own. So the one thing that you would say is that who is the person in that dressing room that's settling everybody down, that's composing them? We had a lot of experienced winners when we were winning it for the first time, and it is hard work, but I do think they'll get there. The experience of the last 3 or 4 years, I think, will just be enough for them.
Gary, thank you very much. That's an interesting point. We'll perhaps expand on that to here, but we'll let you go for now. Gary, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Patrick, is that actually quite a big element of this? Because, Gary made the point, you've been there as well, winning many titles. It's a question of sometimes going second is not the easiest when you see your opponents have got the result on the board. You can feel their breath on the back of your neck.
Yeah, but I think Mikel mentioned it quite really well. This is the quality of the Premier League. But they built that experience in the last 4 years. So they finished second, and now they are in the top. And they have to manage to get there at the end. And I think they gained so much experience in the last couple of years, and they are really close to get there, to win it. I believe that Arsenal are more stronger than they were last year. Because when you're looking at the team and you're looking at the quality of the players, on the right-hand side, Saka or Madueke. On the left-hand side, they have Martinelli or Trossard. Up front, they have Jesus, they have Havertz coming back from injuries, Eze is here. So they have the squad to go until the end and to win the title. And I think now it's just about believe and keep going and taking game after game and try to not change who you are and not changing your identity. Go and play as the best as you can, like they did it a couple of months ago. In the beginning of the season, I was watching Arsenal, and from the first game of the season, I said Arsenal will win the title because of the way that they were playing. And it's true that it's really difficult to play with such a quality from the first to the end of the season. But this team has quality.
I thought that was a really interesting line, though, that Mikel Arteta used there. And I want to sort of revisit that because it was, we feel like we've been in a run-in for a long time, was what he said. Does that change the mentality? If you think back, UK, you said they were better than last season. But if you go back 2 seasons, they were scoring goals for fun. They scored 91 goals in the season. They finished with 89 points this season and only beaten by City, who got 91. And it could be those two pushing each other again all the way. But does it change the mentality in terms of trying to protect what you've got when you are out in front rather than chasing something like it seems that Manchester City are right now?
I think that where Arsenal are psychologically is I'm not in the dressing room, obviously, but I feel as if because of the experiences they've had, they almost have the ingredients now psychologically. It's just about going and doing it. I feel like they're in a much stronger position psychologically than they've ever been. They've had so many different experiences in the last 2 seasons where they've been close, you're battling away, and you're almost thinking to yourself, like, what is that one thing that we are missing?
Does that become a bruise, Daniel, or baggage even,
No.
when they've been that close and missed out before?
Well, it can, but I don't think so. I think that it's down to the match winners to step up, to make the difference. It seems like it's only 9 games and it sounds like it, but I think the pressure of it and the exhaustion of it all, and psychologically you become tired because you're thinking, we've got to do this, we've got to execute. They have it in their hands. It's their job to continue this momentum, but it's not easy when you are battling on multiple different fronts. I think the experience of winning the league, and I know that was something that you'd ask Gary in terms of the feeling of winning your first Premier League title and whether that changes your approach or your experience. And that's what I asked you earlier on about 2004 when I mentioned that. It's because I think that the first year, Arsenal, when you won the league with Arsenal, I think they're in a different position to the second time, in the sense of you'd felt the feeling of winning, but you were also very close multiple times. I feel like the similarity with this team is they've gone close multiple times and basically should have won, but they haven't done it. So in their minds and in their spirits, they should already be winners. They've not lifted the trophy, but their spirit should be, we're winners. And that's the thing I think they need to carry into it. Forget the baggage and the pressure of it's our first. It's more like, do I feel like a winner on the inside?
Could this be almost like, if they do get over the line, and yes, they are fighting for 4 trophies, but in terms of the Premier League, could it be the moment like the cork coming out of the bottle for Arsenal, and then they go and do it again and again?
And of course, I think when more you win and more you build the confidence and belief. And I think Arsenal in the last couple of years, they built a team, because Mikel has been there for like 5 years now, and he's really built this team. Top players come in and they are more stronger. And of course, I think if they manage to win it at the end, that will be the momentum and the belief that players need to go there and win it like 2-3 times in a row. In our time, it was really difficult to win 2 titles in a row. We won it once, we didn't, we won it the next years because we were competing against United. And I think in the last couple of years, it was really difficult for Arsenal because there was a Liverpool, there was a Chelsea and a Manchester City. So there was more competition maybe than a couple of years ago. But if they win it this year, that can be Arsenal winning the title for the next couple of years.
So then, when you say that, right, the psychological impact of, say, you competing with Manchester United for all those years and you knew this is our competitor, there was a lot of energy between the pair of you,
We
right?
knew that it was us or them.
Yes. And psychologically then, when you're approaching the season and you're in the running and you know it's us versus Man United to go to win the title, if you're second or if you were first in those moments, what is that psychologically like? What was that like for you?
It's always better to be first, you know, because you control the momentum and you know that what you need to do is just to win games to get there. So it's always, I believe, to be the one to be chased than the one who chased the first one.
But it almost feels like, Patrick, there's more freedom in chasing.
No, there's no freedom. I think it's as a competitor, as a winner, from the first game of the season to the last one, you want to be at the top. So I think that Manchester City will want to be in Arsenal position.
Well, they both play on Wednesday night, and it could be the most extraordinary season in Arsenal's history, couldn't it, if it ends with 4 titles? Does there come a point, Patrick, when you do think about maybe sacrificing something in your pursuit of the Premier League? Is the Premier League the most important thing, or is it the Champions League?
The Premier League is important, I believe, for Arsenal. But at this level, when you are a competitor, you can't choose which game you're going to go for. And I think I was talking earlier on about the squad of Arsenal Football Club. And I think you have enough numbers of quality players to compete in every competition. And of course, it's really important, some key players like Odegaard to come back from injuries to help the team. But I don't see Mikel to choose a team A and a team B. They will go for it.
Do you think, Daniel, the Champions League draw could have an impact for both these teams? Because for Arsenal, it's Bayer Leverkusen, then it's a Bodo Glimt or a Sporting, and for Manchester City, it's a Real Madrid, maybe a Bayern Munich.
Yes and no, but look, top football clubs, you have big games, top players, world-class players that have to step up and perform. And we know that there's a lot of football matches, and, you know, we talk about schedules and resting and this, that and the third. But I think for both teams, they want to be successful in every competition, every manager. The intensity from the managers is about winning everything. You know, that's the ideal scenario. I think for Arsenal, I would say the Champions League or the Premier League is a huge victory. This season, probably more than any for the Champions League, is a season that it seems as if they have an amazing opportunity based on the draw. They've still got to go and execute. I think the Premier League and why it feels like that's probably more is, yes, the amount of time. Right, we can talk about the Champions League. They've not done that, I think, in the history. But then you look at, because they've been in control for so long, it almost feels like, nah, you have to go and win the Premier League. So if they didn't win the Premier League, I think it would feel worse than if they didn't win the Champions League.
You don't want to disrespect any team in the Champions League, but exactly. You have to say that Arsenal are in a good side of the draw.
Very good. And they are 5 points clear in the Premier League as well. They're in a great position to go all the way in both competitions. It could be absolutely extraordinary. And this time of the season is so fantastic because every single game is absolutely huge. They just matter so much, don't they, in every competition. It's do or die time for the Gunners. Emotional, Liam Rosenior. Daniel, what do you think?
He's honest. I liked it. I respect it. The one thing I liked what he said was learn from consequence. And we're talking about, you know, a team who in the last game conceded a goal from a set piece. So I think that's what he's disappointed with more so than anything. We've worked tirelessly. We've talked about it. He's clear that he's not digging any players out. Again, what I respect. And I think that's his annoyance more than anything. He knows in open play his team's competitive. He knows in open play they've got the tools, they've got the qualities. And you can see he trusts his players. The one area which he's very annoyed about, it's clear in his interviews, is that got to improve on set pieces, guys. I can only say so much, but you've got to execute on the pitch. And then, lastly, the red card. It's just like, come on, bro.
We'll come to those specific moments in a minute. But, Patrick, this is an interesting one. And I'm sure you're sort of keeping a close eye on Liam Rosenior as a young English manager trying to find his way at a very big club in Chelsea. And you bring a different context to most because he followed you at Strasbourg.
Yeah.
So you've
where he did a really good job.
So you've pretty kept a close eye on what he's doing. And what do you make of it so far?
Yeah, I think he really built himself in Strasbourg, where it wasn't an easy job for him. But I think he managed to take the team to European competition. by playing a really good football, really aggressive. Of course, Chelsea is not Strasbourg. The pressure, it's in a different level. I think looking at the games that Chelsea play today, you can see that it is a well-organized team. Players on the field have a really clear idea about their responsibility. They play quite a really good game of football against Arsenal. I've seen him really emotional, frustrated by the 2 goals that they concede. But I think it's about how he will manage those kind of situations. I've seen him a little bit, I don't know if it's nervousness or if it's frustration. He's really upset about individual players like he mentioned. That is something that he will have, I think, to control, to manage, to protect himself a little bit more.
Why?
Because I think overall Chelsea can be really disappointed about the games they play. I think tactically they were quite well organized, and of course they conceded those 2 goals on the set pieces. But this is something that against the best team in the league on that kind of situation, this is something I think to deal with in a dressing room. I will say it's about controlling.
What can be the problem, Patrick, if you say too much in those interviews? What can be the problem for you as a young manager?
I think as a player, you will want to deal in this kind of situation front to front and face to face with the manager, I will say it. I think in this interview, with the respect that I have for him, I've seen him a little bit too emotions on the situation. And the emotion is the frustration, playing that well, but not taking anything from the game. And it will be important to control or to manage this kind of situation. And I always say that for the young manager is always controlling your emotions in a good and in a low situation.
Is it a delicate balance for the players in that situation? That he's clearly talking about set pieces, maybe some people not doing their jobs, not being switched on, whatever. Feeling like your manager is digging you out publicly?
No, because everyone's watching the same games the manager's watching, so the fans and everybody who's watching will have their opinions too. It's clear, but in the end, Chelsea were positive. You know, they had their moments, even on their own set pieces. We could be talking very differently about them.
The most possession, Daniel, of any visiting team here since the start of last season.
There you go. And I think they can come away feeling like, look, we gave it out. We had a good game, but in the end, it was those small margins, 2 set pieces. You go away feeling like it doesn't matter how well you play. As a player in the dressing room, you can play as good as you want. If you don't get the result, the disappointment, that's what it's gonna come from.
Maybe the possibility that there were a couple of penalties that might have gone their way on a different day. We see so many of these, don't we, in these crowded penalty boxes right now. But first of all, you've got this Declan Rice. Did you think this was a penalty, Patrick?
Not at all. I think you can't start to give penalty in this kind of situation. I think Chelsea were quite unlucky because Raya make an unbelievable save. But for me, this is not penalty at all.
All right, that's that one dealt with. There was another one. This is when Raya comes for it and does make contact with the ball, but that's not all, it seems, Daniel. What do you make of it? If you were the striker in this situation, what would you be thinking?
I've just been punched in the face. That's what I'd be thinking. But at the same time, he's had a connection with the ball first. The follow through, it looks like.
It's a suggestion that Saliba's actually dragging him into that position as well.
Yeah.
I think the discussion will be more Saliba on João Pedro. I think the way he putting his hands around and stop him jumping. You may have a conversation in that penalty or not penalty, but Raya situation here, I don't think that's a penalty at all.
We're getting used to seeing this, though, aren't we?
Rice doesn't even look at the ball. He doesn't know where the ball is. He's just dropping the players. And look, this is a situation really difficult for the referees to manage.
Almost impossible. Pedro Neto was sent off, of course, and there'll be huge frustrations in that Chelsea dressing room yet again because of the manner of it. The first one comes for dissent. I think he'd had a warning, and then he starts throwing his arms around, and there you go. That was the yellow card. But then 2 minutes later, he finds himself in a situation, Daniel, where he probably needs to make this challenge.
Well, maybe not. I think
I'm trying to find a defence for him.
As an attacker in these situations, you want to try and bide your time. It's not our strength. It's rarely attacking strengths to be making sliding tackles. He could have potentially tried to get into a physical battle maybe earlier in the action. He let it progress a little bit too much. And you know, it was a naive challenge for sure, but he meant well. He wanted to compete and try and do the right thing. But I think the descent one would probably be more disappointing than the tackle itself, because that's what led to the red card.
Well, this is the sort of the tale of shame, I suppose. 9 red cards this season for Chelsea, the most for 10 seasons in all competitions by any club. 7 of those have come in the Premier League. And the minutes column is relevant because they've played in the Premier League a lot of time with just 10 players, which has had an impact on their chance of winning the game. So the 6 times that they've had a red card before the 86th minute, they have failed to win the match. Might this in the end be the difference between Chelsea playing Champions League football next season or not?
I was hoping you were not going to ask me about red cards, you know. But of course, the sending off repeatedly like that, it is an issue for them, because it's never easy to compete with one less player, and they will need to find a way to resolve that issues, because of course when you have 11 players on the field, you become more stronger, and you need your best element on the field to perform.
7 Premier League red cards equals a record for Chelsea.
Yes, I see you coming.
You know where it's going. 7 is also the record for Arsenal, 98-99, when you missed the title by 1 point.
At the end.
And you were one of those. Manu Petit, we were talking to before the game, 2 of those as well. And I remember there was a lot of conversation about it at the time. This might cost Arsenal. Do you think that was the main factor?
It may be one of the factors. Of course, when you have important players missing games due to suspension, at the end does have an impact. And when you lose a title or you're not qualifying for the Champions League, when you're missing those key players, that of course costs you points.
Do they have to address it? There've only been 2 under Liam Rossini. I mean, the first game that he was watching, he saw a red card at Fulham, but when he's been in control, there have been 2 red cards, the one last week for Fofana and this one today. But does he need to grab this?
Yeah, I mean, it's down to the manager to kind of talk to them about the temperament, but inevitably it's down to the players to not make these mistakes. I think a lot now it's more man on man than ever before. So there's a lot more actions and moments what these things are happening. But it's going to be disappointing, and the players will be frustrated as well, because they know that they should be doing better than this. And the last thing you want to be doing is playing with 10 men in this league. It's an unforgiving league with the intensity of it. You need every man.
And I think it is more to something that you can really control, I will say, it is this kind of silly yellow cards. And I think the first one, where he was complaining to the referees, I think this is something that you can easily avoid. The second one, of course, you try to win the ball and the timing wasn't right, and then you get the second yellow card, meaning the red card. But the first one, where you're complaining, I think that is something that players can work on themselves and try to control, and I think that's something that they can do by themselves as well.
Heard from the Spurs manager, Igor Tudor. He's had 2 games, he's lost them both, and he says there are big problems. I'm sure Spurs fans will be really encouraged hearing that. 4 points between themselves and the relegation zone, as you were, because West Ham, of course, were beaten at Anfield. The question is, are they going to get the requisite points to put Forest and Spurs in more danger? Leeds also beaten, not quite out of it just yet. They're at home to Sunderland midweek. Crystal Palace and Newcastle also beaten as well. Sunderland with a point, Brighton climbing. A bit of a late flurry for them, and still a prospect of European football, which could go all the way down to the top 8. And Fulham climbing today, Everton also into that position. Brentford with an amazing win at Burnley yesterday. And then the top 6 with Chelsea Now 6 points outside the top 4, but just 3 behind Liverpool. Aston Villa have lost their momentum. Another defeat for them, this time at Wolves on Friday night. Manchester United winning again. And then the top 2, City, with Arsenal 5 points clear. City with that game in hand. So let's get Gary Neville's verdict on the race for Champions League football next season. Here he was, speaking a few moments ago on his podcast.
United have got difficult games, but they've got a free programme, they've got the momentum, they look dangerous. I actually think against the good teams, they're very dangerous on the counter-attack with Ahmad, Sesko, Mbeumo, Cunha, Bruno. So I actually think those games suit them. I think United will definitely finish third, but I'll probably sat here in 3 weeks on the Gary Neville podcast, which I said wasn't very good before, which is a bit in the game. No, I think United will finish third. And I can't believe I'm saying that from where we were 6 weeks ago, but I just think they've got no distractions. They've got something good going. The momentum's with them. All the teams have got difficult games. They've all got difficult games. They've all got a challenge in front of them. I think United finish third. I think Liverpool finish fourth. And I think Chelsea will finish fifth. I hope Villa finish in the top 5. I really do. And look, I've said before, the manager is an experienced, wise guy, and if they get some players back, but the midfield players being injured have cost them a bit in the last few weeks. And I just feel like it'll be Chelsea, Manchester United and Liverpool. The only doubt will be Chelsea or Villa. Chelsea or Villa for fifth is my view. I think it's United, Liverpool, Chelsea or Villa.
Clear as mud. Is that how you see the top 4, Daniel? Manchester United and Liverpool?
I do think so, yeah. It's going to go down to the wire, though, isn't it? Villa, I love the coach, I love the players, what they've got going on over there. Of course, Chelsea, if they figure it out and they show their best, they're capable of beating everybody. But Liverpool and Manchester United, I think, are in a better position at the moment, maybe psychologically. I think Chelsea have had their concerns and Aston Villa in a little bit of a difficult patch, but I think it goes down to the wire. I don't think it's going to be one of those where we can be making statements now, because these players and the top coaches as well, they always find a way.
6 wins out of 7 for Michael Carrick in charge, but Gary hasn't changed his position. You might remember when we were here watching Manchester United beat Arsenal, it was a case of wait, see what else is out there. You still agree that's the right approach?
No, I think, of course, you don't want to rush making a decision, but you have to give him a lot of credit, because Gary was talking about calmness around United, and I think the manager brings calmness, and he brings result. So he's doing a good job, and I think that is something that we have to talk about, because it's always difficult when you come into a new club where the teams are not doing well. So that means you need to relieve the confidence of the players. You need to find a system that suits those players to perform, and I think he did it quite really well in a really short time of period.
And really anything but calmness, Patrick, around Crystal Palace, your old club right now. Is it a bit of a shame, do you think, the way it's sort of finishing and tailing off a little for Oliver Glasner?
Yeah, I think it is a shame. It is a shame because he did a fantastic job winning the FA Cup and giving a lot of hope to the fans, and he really built a strong team, physically really strong and competing quite really well. I think Crystal Palace is a really difficult team to play against. And going from winning the FA Cup, seeing the celebration and seeing where they are now and a lot of confusion around the club, around the manager, around the players, it is a shame for the club because it is a wonderful football club.
And as for Spurs, Daniel, in a bit of a pickle. No win in 10, 2 defeats under their new manager. Would you be worried about them right now?
I think you have to be. You have to be worried, but they've got so many talented football players in the team, and you sort of think they've got to have some moments within themselves. They have to figure out a way to bring their best, because there's so much talent. It's just, you know, they're not playing to the level they can. They know that too. There's a lot of international guys, top players who have done things in different leagues and have had success here. And I just think that it's surprising to see where they are. It is surprising. I'm sure they're going to be disappointed with how things are going at the moment. And yes, managerial change and all those different types of things, but you got to build this momentum, man. You got to find a win.
Why are you smirking, Patrick? You must have some words.
like it, don't you?
Some words of encouragement for Spurs fans.
No, I think it is sad, of course, because we're talking about one of the greatest clubs in London and in the Premier League. But in the last couple of years, I think this is a club that spend a lot of money with no structure, with no direction, and with quality players. So that means if you don't have a proper structure, if you don't have a direction, you can have or spend much money that you want that doesn't bring you success. And last couple of years, I think, try to understand where they want to go. It is really difficult to explain.
Patrick, it's been a pleasure and a delight again. Thank you for being with us. Daniel, thank you very much. Special mention as well to our special guest for popping in, Yaya Toure. That was a nice surprise, wasn't it? And for Arsenal, it's been a really good day in the office. 5 points clear, 29 down, 9 to go. Bye-bye from us.